Hello and welcome to Stage Matters, the podcast that gets right into the heart of what happens when artists take the stage. I'm your host, Arvind Murali, and it's great to have you with me. On this podcast, we are cutting through the noise to understand the true essence of what makes a performance soar, what challenges performers face, and how they consistently deliver those transcendent moments. I'll be chatting with amazing artists and performers, from seasoned veterans to rising stars, to hear their stories directly. We'll discuss the highs, the lows, the techniques, and the mindset that defines their approach to performance. If you ever wondered what it truly feels like to command a stage or what goes into those breathtaking artistic moments, you're in the right place. Let's pull back the curtain and dive into Stage Matters. Hi Kanaxx, welcome to Stage Matters. Thank you for making the time and coming all the way.
Thank you so much for having me, and really happy to be here, finally, after a bunch of rescheduling.
Yes. So how did it all begin for you? Like, how did you get, do you remember how your first experience on stage?
Very clearly in my head, because I think this was 2000, and we were staying in Besant Nagar, my family, and we were at one of these dead ends where the compound wall was shared by our apartment and the Theosophical Society, KFI school. And and we used to play cricket in the dead end. And there used to be this, it was a brick wall, and there's a couple of bricks that were missing in the wall. So there was a hole, and you could see the school through that wall. Okay. And generally it would be a whole lot of lectures, demonstrations, stuff like that, where people are coming over, just doing some fun stuff. But this one time when we were playing, it was my now guru S. Murali Krishnan sir from Just Drums and Sivamani sir together, who were doing a lecture demonstration for the KFI school. And I ended up dropping my cricket bat and staring through that hole for about 3.5, 4 hours. And it was scorching hot, actually, on our side of the street. They had a lot of trees in their compound. So I ended up just settling there and watching this whole thing. At the end of the lecture demonstration, I remember Murali sir, walked up to me and, gave me his card and said, you know what, you can join my school if you are interested in drumming. And from then till the summer holidays, I pestered my parents to somehow put me into this drums class. And I ended up joining, and that's where it started, yeah.
So what about things that you saw and shows that you've seen and all that in those days?
Yes. So my parents were avid music listeners, but not really into heavy rock music and stuff
Carnatic?
like that. Yeah, a lot of Carnatic, a lot of fusion bands, Mahavishnu Orchestra, to Shakti. And my dad was also more into the Carpenters, Boney M, ABBA, that kind of stuff. So, and of course the usual names, the likes of Rahman sir, Jayaraj sir, MSV sir, all of them. So there was subconsciously a lot of music always in the house, and my mum learnt the veena from her mum. Never took it seriously to a performance level, but she was pretty good at it, and still is. And so she deep down somewhere somehow wanted one of the kids to pick up music. She never really voiced it out, but it was kind of there. And the minute I joined drum school, it was a little more serious for her than for me. For me, it was just one of those other classes that a child is going to. But then initially there's that flair where you're hitting something, there's sound coming out of it. Yeah. It's cool, and it's a lot of dexterity, and your limbs are all put at work. So it was a little challenge for me at that age. So yes, music-wise, there was a lot of music subconsciously, and also we moved to Chennai in '98 from Bombay, and we ended up being neighbors to the violin duo Maestros Ganesh Kumresh.
Oh wow,
So while we were above their house, they were on the ground floor. There would be Sivamani, Zakir, Hussain, Vikuvinagaram sir, Selva Ganesh, John McLaughlin, all of these people would come and jam downstairs. John Anthony, all of these guys. And I didn't even know these guys. I knew Zakir Hussain because of the Taj ad. Because that's how young and immature I was. And of course, Sivamani sir is a famous name with drums and whatnot. So for them, it was just Siva Mama and stuff like that, because Ganesh uncle's son Akshay, who was my best buddy, who is my best buddy till now, who also happens to play violin for Raghu Dixit now and a whole bunch of other bands. He used to call them as Vikku Mama, Siva Mama, and Johnny Mama, and all of them. So for me, they were like uncles, and I didn't really have that like, whoa, these guys are legends. You know, that distance wasn't there. So I was too close in proximity with these like incredible musicians, very subconsciously. And now that I think about it, I feel like that definitely like factored in somewhere somehow. You know, in shaping me. Yeah.
So how has your understanding of performance evolved from that time to now? How has it changed?
It's interesting. I feel like when I was younger, it was more on the flashier side of things, and, you know, the glam behind it, and, you know, twirling the sticks and all of that cool stuff. And even like I was trying to kind of put in everything that I learned into what I was doing all the time. Like, I had fun doing it, honestly, but I don't know if the music really needed it as well. And that, I think, is a constant learning. Even today, I'm learning that, where there's... Can I say something in Tamil, actually? பாட்டுக்கு வாசிக்கிறதுக்கு பதிலா அவன் பாட்டுக்கு வாசிக்கிறான்னு they say. So I was playing by myself.
Somebody told one of my அடுத்த கச்சேரிக்கு ஏதாவது வெச்சுக்கோப்பா.
So concept. Initially I was doing a lot, you know, because I was just learning at that phase. So every time I'd play a song, I was like, why is this guy just played that? Why can't he do this? Why can't he do that? But then there's beauty in just, you know, like playing something so basic that it just embellishes and makes the other elements in the music better. So that is a constant learning for sure. But yes, initially it was more glam and you know, skills and techniques and all of that, but it's still there, but now it's more in a very, I guess I'm trying to polish it. I won't say I'm like a polished, well done piece of art, but
I don't think anyone
is, right? You're constantly etching towards this goal that is moving forward and forward as you keep going. So I feel like I'm in that process of evolving and learning to listen to the other people in the room more and more as we play together, and understand certain dynamics of certain musicians as you play more often with them in the band and stuff like that. And it's helped a lot also in the freelance perspective, where you're going to play for the first time and probably even the last time with these bunch of musicians, and to, you know, quickly gel into that space and come out of it like nothing ever happened. I don't know if the initial flashiness and all that drama that I would musically do would have helped me be able to fit into rooms that easily. So yes, slowly learning, but yes, it has grown from a lot of glam to more about what the song needs, what the song wants. Does it feel good more than sound good? A lot of things like that.
Beautiful. So let's talk about preparation. How do you prepare for a show? Like mentally, physically, do you have some rituals that you follow?
First of all, I feel like the most basic thing for me, even like including today, I'm kind of like always like, you know, racing with the clock. I try to be everywhere I have to be on time. That's like my first getting into a comfortable zone in a space. I was 2 minutes late, 11:02 I reached there. I was like, damn it. That's, for me, like that's a very, very vital process. In fact, if it's a rehearsal, I would reach there like 20 minutes earlier so that I can kind of just chill out and just be in the space and get into the rhythm of it. Eventually people come and start setting up and you get into this zone. So I feel like for me, this could be different. Everybody has their own ways. For me, I feel like that's like the start of my prep towards doing anything that I want to do in life.
Be on time.
Being on time. And being present mentally, doing whatever it takes to be mentally present in that space. That's something that I really emphasize a lot on. And the next, of course, is the preparation for the music itself. Now, they say there's a jam. it's upon you to ask what are the songs are we going to jam, or is it a free jam or whatnot. If there are songs, then try and write down the structure, figure out how many bars of this, where the breaks are, what is the syncopation, what are the markings, what could we add to this, what could we not do from this and whatnot. But that comes later. But just that basic prep, I feel like is respecting the other people you're going to jam with and play a show with in that space, not trying to take their time for granted when you come for a jam or something, kind of like let loose and unprepared. There are geniuses who just like walk in and kill it and leave. I'm just not one of those, so I need that like pre-rehearsal prep, pre-show prep. So I do write my music initially when it's a new set or something that I'm playing. And it's just there, like it's on my iPad. I have a bunch of sheets that I've written down for the show or something like that. And in the show, I don't really look at it because you're like 3-4 jams in. It's there. It's not like it's not there. But there are times when you're playing and you're so into it, you are lost. You're just like, I love this void that I'm in. And then suddenly you're like, oh, wait, what's up next? So that second you look and you're like, okay. Yeah, now we know where we are kind of vibe. So that is another thing that I make sure I do before shows. Prep musically as well to the music that's going to be performed and whatnot. And I feel like the general off late I've been realizing weird thing. I've been having mild nightmares of like, what if I just get up one day and I'm not able to like play the way I used to play? Like yesterday I did this, today I can't do this. I know I get that feeling sometimes, especially the heavy intensive rock sets where there's all double pedal, all of the polyrhythms, all that stuff going on. You play the same album after like a year or so. You're like, man, how did I even do that? Like, I need to practice to get there now again. So that fear is kind of like put me to a routine to like work out every day in the morning, stuff like that. So that's another part of the preparation. And then there is my body's way of like prepping just minutes, hours before the show, where I don't know if it's for every artist or something, but I feel really sleepy before a show. I'm almost yawning and I'm like, man, I'm really sleepy. And I have a banana before every show. And then the minute you're on stage, that adrenaline just kicks in and you're at some other world. You're transcended to a new like dimension and having the ball of your life. So yeah, I feel like these are the things that like kind of build me up to the gig itself.
So you talked about being transcended to another dimension.
Yeah.
So you think there is something beyond just your skill and technique? And
yes, absolutely, because you would know this for sure, playing intense jazz music and stuff like that, where there are no words. You don't tell somebody you're going to do this, but there'd be these sparks of magic that happens where you're going to do something that's improvised, and there's somebody else who in the band who just locks in like as a coincidence, right? That's just like, it's beyond words, it's beyond practice, it's beyond technique, it's beyond all of that. It's just you can't explain that feeling. It just feels so surreal when it happens every time. It's not like it's going to happen throughout a song, throughout the show. There are these sparks and bursts here and there, but that just like reminds you how grateful you should be to be doing this every time. So I feel like that
somebody said this about technique, that the purpose of technique is to forget about it.
Absolutely it should become second nature, so that you
can play freely.
Absolutely.
So what was I going to ask? I forgot. I see I had a blackout.
You had a magical moment there.
So what is your relationship with gear and equipment? I know lots of musicians and lots of drummers are obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
You guys would have heard what Vikram had to say about his gear and stuff. I'm not as crazy as he is about his gear for sure. But yes, I do take care of my gear. Like as we speak, today is Vijayadashmi. Yesterday was Ayudha Puja. So, like oiled up, WD-40'd all the nuts and bolts. I follow Vinay Ramakrishnan for all the DIY tips and tricks of, And of course, we've all been doing this over the years with all our equipment. But yes, when it comes to traveling and checking in, there is this you invest. It's a little expensive that way, I feel like. You buy this expensive piece of equipment and then you buy a really expensive piece of gear that just handles your equipment, which is a hard case or something like that. Or especially when it's an odd shaped instrument, it's more made to order kind of cases and stuff like that. So I feel like it's absolutely vital how you keep your instruments for them to be where you want them to be when you're performing and doing what you're doing, right? Our eventual goal is to be in oblivion and lost and having that magical moment on stage, and I don't want some nut to fall off my cymbal stand or something like that. So, and also initially for a long time in my life I used to take my drum kit and set it up and do all of that. Now I have a tech for the last 8 years, I think. Srini Chinu, he has been vital in understanding the minute details that I like about how the kit should be and how the tuning of certain drums should be, to how well the lugs need to be tightened up, to check once before the show time also. He'd quickly run on stage and check if all the nuts are tight. Suddenly when I'm playing a crash, there'll be one cymbal that'll be slowly slanting towards me, stuff like that. It kind of throws you off while you're having fun and having your moment. So having a guy like him to help me out has really helped me have a very seamless gig experience, and that comes with taking care of the gear well. So yes, it's absolutely vital, I feel like. It goes without saying.
Okay. So how do you balance planning and practice and rehearsal and improvisation?
So I feel like the initial part should be the planning and the practice. So planning is the first step. You plan out and figure out what you want to, play and all of that. And then when you're practicing, you are implementing what you have planned out. And you practice for a while. You do this regularly. You do it at least 3 times with the musicians you're playing with. And then you go home and you do your homework with the music and whatnot. And so you've at least been through each piece 6-7 times at this time before the gig. So naturally, I feel like at the gig, you'll just be throwing certain small things here and there. That'll, over time, it'll become very beautiful and very polished and very nice. It's a very fine line.
Because there are these people who will play exactly like the record. And exactly like
it's still great. There's you can't find a fault in that. It's great. It depends on the set also for me. How much have I internalized the set for me to very happily do something? Or there would be a specific vocal run or something that happens in a certain place which I would like to mark, which is probably not there in the song. But me marking it over there would just be like, hey, what was that? That sounds cool. Kind of a, just the eyes turn for a second on stage and then that's it. It's gone. But those kind of things, I definitely, take it when it's the gig day of a well-planned and a well-rehearsed set.
Okay, well said. So what is the most challenging aspect of the whole performance process? And what is an aspect you don't like?
Sound checks. Long sound checks in the sunny afternoons in an outdoor gig is something that I don't really like. And most of the ecosystems that I am now a part of are bands that I've played for a long time, so it's a very well-oiled machine. It's on time, everything is on time, on the dot. The drummer comes in, our line check is done, next guitarist, next bass player, percussionist, it's streamlined. So in that time, I'll go on to, probably play a game on my iPad or something while somebody else is checking. And once the last guy is done his check, do one monitor check, all of us together, and it's done. But then you do these freelance big gigs, right? You're playing now I play for a bunch of composers like Sean Roldan, who also have been playing for a long time. But when the big bands come in, like you have violins, you have a string section, you have a horn section, you have a keyboardist, you have a guitarist, there are a lot of people on stage, about 15-20 musicians on stage. At that point, it becomes a lot. And it's a very slow process. You can't expect somebody else to work the way you want want this to work just because you're used to one way of doing things. And so while I'm doing my monitor check, I hate it when somebody else is, like, can I have actually also a little less of that? I'm like, bro, you do that when you're doing your check. I'm now at my check. Let me just finish it. Yeah. Vikram loves doing that. He knows it annoys me and he does it. Another thing that annoys me is also when I have the click.
I thought he said like he's very focused. He'd only play when he needs to play. And
Yeah. But he would be like, he has a guitar amp next to him. So it's like even when he's muted on the PA, his guitar amp is kind of blaring on stage and you'd be like, I'm like, bro, chill out, man. Wait a second. And I would also annoy him a little bit because of that. But So this whole in-ear monitor mix thing is when it's a little annoying when somebody else asks for changes while you're doing your mix. Other than that, I think,
Okay. So, is this the only thing that you don't like about?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you deal with like unexpected things that happen? Things that like screw-ups, mistakes?
I would try to work around it most of the times. It depends on if I'm able to work around it also. Like I remember when me and my band Grey Shack, me and Vikram were playing Hornbill. We were competing in Hornbill. We were playing the finals. And I remember the second song, each band was allowed 3 songs and we were playing our second original Sheba. It's originally played by Vinay. And I played that song and my first hit on the kick drum, my kick drum kind of, penetrates into the, my beater penetrates into the kick drum itself. And then I thought, okay, maybe I have a double pedal, so I'll try and see if I can play with the left beater till that part of the head tears as well, which just tore the second I hit the left pedal as well. And then at that point, I just had to stop. I felt really bad. It's a competition where the finals, this is kind of not what you want to have. But it's upon vendors, sound vendors and providers to have a spare of everything that is on stage. That's why I would emphasize on vendors to have a B rig right there at the gig itself.
I guess that's feasible only in some bigger budget.
Yeah, for sure. But I wouldn't say you need to get another drum kit, but if you have a spare kick drum head, that would help. Because I would be already carrying a whole bunch of other stuff, from snares to cymbals to double pedals to a bunch of clamps to my monitoring system to, whatnot, my talkback switcher, all these things, electronic triggers and pad and whatnot. So I feel like that is something that there are moments which you can work around. Like there's, for example, you're in the middle of a song and somebody like, kind of like by mistake, like pulls out a wire or something like that. It's about quickly just fixing it and just going for it. Or you could be really annoyed with it and be like, no, I'm going to start from first. That depends on the person that you and I are. And it differs from person to person. For me, I try as much as possible to work through it. Like there are these weird things when you wear these like formal pants, the pant is protruding in the front a little bit and the beater gets stuck inside it sometimes. That is like the worst. I'm like, that's why I try and get really long pants so that there are frills in the bottom and it's not lifting up a little bit. And that's happened a couple of times. So it's a learning. You're constantly learning from, and the stage is, I've always said this, the stage is the weirdest place. Also, like the coolest shit could happen. The most weirdest stuff could also happen where you wouldn't even expect things like these would happen. Like a beater getting stuck inside a pant. Come on, like nobody practices for that. Nobody preps you up for that. It just happens and you have to deal with it right then and there. So as much as you can, I would say, if you want to be a little more like adjusting to the ecosystem, kind of try and work around it, unless you really can't. At that point, you just have to stop and start and fix and do this again.
Okay. So you play both live shows and also like recordings. For a lot of people, you're like seasoned pro in both ends. What can you compare the two and say which one, what are the differences, what are the similarities, and what do you prefer?
I mean, I don't know. For the energy, I definitely prefer a live show. Like that's unmatched, as opposed to being locked up in a studio and I wish the live shows energy had an ecosystem to be able to record very clearly as well, which is the hypothetical situation, right? You can't. There's crowd and all of those things happening. I definitely prefer live shows, but I have my fair share of fun with the studio recording because you have the chance to probably do something cooler than that first take sometimes, you know. The first take is always like smooth, it's just musically there, but then you'd be like, I have the chance to, you know, kind of punch in and do this cool thing that would really work well, and I can do that again, which I can't do in a live show. Once played, you've played, it's done. So I guess both have their pluses and minuses in that aspect, at least, where you have the opportunity to maybe correct yourself if you've made an error, or improvise if you feel like you didn't connect as much as you wanted to over a certain section or something, as opposed to a live show where you start, you finish, that's it, it's over, that's it, that song is done, you're moving on to the next song. However bad or good you played, that's it, that's over there. So yes, both are weird in their own ways, and I kind of like it for what it is. But live shows energy any day over the studio. Yeah.
So you talked about crowds. So what is your relationship with the audience? How do you see them? Do you think they have a responsibility towards the performers and the music as well?
Responsibility. Again, that's something that's very subjective to the artist itself, right? Like some artists prefer a very, very pin drop silent audience, and who just want to observe the minute nuances of your musicality and all of that. And there are some people who are like, man, I just want to go crazy with you guys and, you know, jump and fly around and crowd surf and do all those things. And I'm part of acts that have both of this, where there are bands that I play which are more concert oriented, and there are bands that I play that are more gigs oriented, where gigs are more like the fun environment where there's food and beverages all being served, as opposed to the concert environment where the agenda is the music itself. And these, I feel like, are two different like spectrums of the audience. I kind of enjoy both of these disciplines in their own ecosystems. But you can't have a gnarly crowd in a concert theater, nor can you have a silent, you know, audience in a festival or a bar gig, you know. So it's good the way it is. I don't know how would you say about them having this responsibility as such. No, it's more like trying to camouflage into the environment that they are in. So I've played, for example, you take a museum theater, I've played shows there which are like pin drop silent. As soon as the song finishes, the applause come in, and then that's it. There's not even one whistle or a whoo, none of that. No. And then I've played the other shows where nobody's sitting, everybody's standing, and it's a riot inside. So I kind of enjoy both of it. It depends on, I guess the music kind of gives them the energy or the vibe that you want them to be in. So they are in that space. I don't see a crowd really like mismatching the energy of what the artists on stage are giving as such. So,
What is your expectation from an organizer of a show? Or a promoter?
Well, in advanced plan of, you know, itinerary with respect to logistics, booking your flight tickets or your train tickets. And the main problem nowadays is with all the bands, everybody is playing with a whole bunch of other bands as well. So everyone has a different place they are coming from or a different place they are going to after the show. So the promoters need to be a little accommodating of the fact that these people make a living out of doing this. So you kind of have to respect that and understand, okay, so we have blocked you for this show, so we are going to get you from wherever you are to here. And then your next promoter is upon themselves to take you from wherever you are to where they want you to be for the next show. So planning the logistics is something that is absolutely vital. And with respect to meeting the tech rider that the band or the artist sends. So there are times when the clients have a relationship with a certain sound vendor or a company and they would say, whatever your tech rider is, you have to go to this man, and he is going to do the sound for the show. And he or she might not have a lot of the equipments that we might be wanting, but these are absolutely vital to the music that we are going to, perform and express through to these people. So I feel like that is something they need to understand a little more and not feel like it's arrogance or, like you throwing a tantrum. It is a very vital basic need that when we say, like abroad I've heard artists who say, I want a bowl full of M&Ms without the brown M&M alone in it, and it's a part of like hundreds of like pages of a tech rider. There's one line that says that, and them seeing that for them is reassuring that this guy has actually read the rider, so I trust this guy, kind of a vibe. We are nowhere in India. We are not in that ecosystem to pull tantrums like that. But it would be nice if people could accommodate our basic needs, like understanding where we need to come from to this show, or basic putting you in a very, very neat, nice hotel room. I'm not asking for some lavish 5-star hotel, but come on, put me in a nice place that has a clean toilet. That's all I'm asking for. Very, very basic things. If you're able to sort it out, nobody's going to complain, And to run things on time. That's another thing now. You have a ticketed show. You have people walking in, gates open for the audiences 1.5 hours before the show. That means the sound check should be over minimum like 2 hours before the show. Sorry, max 2 hours before the show. Earlier the better, but those are things that should be planned, which means the artist would say, I need 3 hours of sound check. One artist would say, I need 5 hours. So you need to accommodate that. That means when does your backline equipment come to the venue? When do they start setup and finish for you to be able to have that 5 hours, which gives you the leverage for the gates to open 2 hours before the show, for the show to happen. These are all things that need to be very, very meticulously planned. Like there's no other way about it. You have to stick to the time. If somebody is not on time, you have to let them know, saying, boss, this is not working out. I can't do this. I can't make the audience wait outside the venue. This is any delay anywhere in this process leads to your audience not being able to have a comfortable experience getting into your venue to watch your show. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think this is important words.
Absolutely.
So what do you feel about stage persona and how you look and behave on stage? Is that like important? Is it?
I think it absolutely has become that way. Today, a musical concert or a gig is not just the music. It is, of course, the music is the fundamental element of this whole ecosystem, but it's gone well and above and beyond that. In the sense, there are artists who have pyros, with the fires and the lights, and there are LEDs with time-synced visuals that sync exactly to the start and the end of your song, start and end of your show, to like bands like Coldplay going with that whole light bands thing which sync to their music for the whole arena, stuff like that. So it's become way beyond the music, it's like simulation for the audience at different levels. You go to a Coldplay show, there are so many people today who don't even listen to Coldplay who want to attend a Coldplay gig. I think that's something cool about that as well. You're pulling in new audiences everywhere you go because of the experience that you're giving. So at that aspect, experience, it definitely matters as to how your persona and how you're pulling yourself off on stage, and the kind of energy and the aura that you bring and the effort that you put into how you want the stage to look. There are so many things. A lot of people go into a lot of these details these days. I see so many festivals abroad. Each artist has such a different stage setup, layout. But everyone has their own aesthetic. It's there. Like you see a Dream Theater, they have their specific type of LED wall stuff with Mike Portnoy's massive kit in the middle, and John Petrucci's guitar amps are here. Everything is there. And then the next band you see, there's a totally different thing going on, but they have their own aesthetic going on which matches their music and their energy. Slipknot is playing or something like that. They have their own stuff going on. So even in a festival environment, they're all able to pull in their, show the way they want the audiences to, experience it. So in that sense, I feel like the whole performance aspect of things has gone way beyond just the music. So it's that, right? Like back in the day, I don't know if Kurt Cobain today could be wearing, a toned shirt and those
I guess
jeans.
That's his persona.
I guess so, but I don't know. Today, how grand things have become. I'm one of the biggest Nirvana fans. My thing was I would wear only shorts to shows. I was a big Dave Grohl fan. I would wear shorts, camo shorts, and wear some metal band sleeveless shirt. Wear a cap the other way around and play. That was like my uniform to playing gigs. To then realizing this, it'll be nicer because there are certain visuals that are coming on the screen. Let's not have that color on us. Let's not kind of like match with some aesthetic that is there on stage. Let's go with a certain palette of colors that would work well with this bunch of lights, this bunch of, LED visuals and whatnot. That definitely adds to the visual experience as well. It's not, you go to a concert to watch the band as well, not just listen. So at that point, it's beyond just the musicality of it. It's gone to other things. You need a lighting engineer, you need a pyro engineer, you need all these things. Of course, these are the big gigs that I'm talking about. Even a small pub gig needs a lighting engineer. If there is a lighting engineer in a small ecosystem environment that you're playing in, or even a so-far sound show, who's able to sync with your time and figure out your breaks, take down your music and actually do it, it's a great experience. Like there is a stop in a song, I want the lights to go out that second I stop. And I come back, I want the lights to come back. But that is now like me asking a favor from a lighting engineer these days. And, I can't tell him to sit and listen to my music for 3 hours and, write down the breaks and whatnot. But I think that's where it should be. Like they should take it like it's their gig, right? They're having their fun with it. So it'll be nice if they could take everybody else in the ecosystem other than the musicians to take that one extra step to make the gig a better gig. And the visual experience of it as well, which is now like a very, very big thing. It definitely adds to the value of the artist performing, because you're performing live. If they want to listen to your music, they're going to listen to it on a CD or Apple Music, Spotify or something like that. So it definitely matters how you are presenting your show to an audience.
So what's your view on people miming and lip syncing, and even say a matter of using backing tracks?
So I play with bands that are strictly no backing tracks, none, and I play with bands that have backing tracks as well. So that again, I feel like I have this weird line that I have drawn inside my head which I don't want to cross, where it's like you're just like acting and there's nothing coming out and it's just some track going on. That's absolutely against my ethics, and touch wood, I've not been a part of any of those ecosystems. To each their own. I feel like there are composers today who are making music that is extremely overproduced. There's no band that's going to be able to play it the way it is on the record unless you're okay to rearrange it to a band vibe and do it, which is the fun way to go about it. You have 6 other guys to vibe with you. Come on, have fun, man. Do that. But it is also about how you want your audience to perceive your music. So there are people who are okay to adapting it to the band's ecosystem and ready to, rearrange stuff depending on the musicians that are on stage and playing the same song, as opposed to people who want it exactly the way it is on record and it's extremely overproduced. One percussionist will be there in the show. There'll be like 20 tracks on the studio recording that they did. And that one guy is not going to be able to replicate that. So you, at that point, you'll have to figure out as an artist, what tracks do I want to mute and what tracks do I have to keep open for this musician to add his magic to the tracks and do that. But I don't see a lot of people doing that these days. They just straight up go with the tracks and they some engineers and musicians are kind of balancing out the live and the track stuff, and some just just mute the band and have the tracks and whatnot, which I don't really connect with. I'm like, then what are you doing this for? Like, there's no fun in this, you know. So, but it seems to be letting them to do other things. Like they end up going and doing a hook step of a dance that is iconic to this film song that came in the screen, which I won't be able to do if I have to play this specific riff over there or play this drum part, something like that. So I guess it works in different ways, but I don't really resonate with it. And with respect to backing tracks, while you produce an album as such, you end up wanting to embellish certain elements that you don't have in your band. Like, we'd love to have a string section. Okay, let's get somebody to, you know, like 4 or 5 piece string section to come and record. And then you don't have the budget to tour with them. So you let them know, saying, we are going to pay you a little more than your session rate. Would you be okay if we use your tracks as backing tracks for the show? Because these are elements that are outside of the band's ecosystem, which we are adding to kind of add color to this. So that, I think, is a very healthy space. You are remunerating the artist who's come and done the session for you for the album, letting him or her know that you're going to use these as backing tracks. That is the point of a backing track, I feel like. That is where I can play a small pub gig and have a string section alone on the track. It's not like I'm miming a string section and there's actually a laptop triggering that sound. I'm straight away saying, I can't
Queen
afford
did it
that.
in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So those are the kind of elements that I feel like you should be able to, you know, explore. It definitely adds another layer to your soundscape itself. But pushing it a little too much and making it over track heavy it just pulls the fun out of it. So,
I guess so, yeah. So how has it been trying to make a living out of this whole thing? Is it like, how's the relationship with money? Would you have any advice for upcoming artists and performers?
This is a vital conversation that every musician should think about when they're, you know, getting into this field as such.
It's been romanticized, no, starving artists.
Yeah.
So people today are not like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that should be spoken about, and you should also have an understanding of your ecosystem. Now, you and I are in India, and whether you and I like it or not, music reaches the masses through the biggest medium, and the biggest medium in India is cinema. So I was just I did a talk in Swarnabhumi Academy of Music, and I was doing some research before that because I wanted to keep it a little real and talk about these things, you know. You're spending a lot of money to learn music. Now, you can't very crassly put it and say ROI, return on investment. I'm not going to say that. But at some point, you should start generating a revenue out of it. And that also keeps you kind of out of the pressure of, you know, feeling stressed out while doing something that you love. So there are about 2,000 to 3,000 films coming out in a year in India. And each film has about 5 to 6 songs. So there's about 10 to 20,000 songs coming out in a year through like severe marketing, like big companies like Sony Music, T-Series, all of them are like pushing this, spending lakhs of money on marketing and promotion and whatnot. And nowadays, 50 million views on YouTube, nobody cares. Like it's become 100 million is now the new like normal. It's like that's where you start. So that is one ecosystem. And sadly, that is the biggest, you know, connection to the masses. And in our country, I feel like movies being the main medium, the money is there. The money follows where the revenue is coming out of again. If I am able to play a pub gig with my band and pull in 1,000 people in a place where only 500 people can come in, that same promoter will pay another venue where they can accommodate 1,000 people and have me over the next time. But sadly, I'm not able to do that. So I can't blame the promoter or my music or an audience for any of this, you know. So the money follows where the matter is. And with money comes a lot of power as well. You're able to get the singer you want. For example, you write a song and then you've always been, imagine you're in a different era and you love, say, Slash, and you played a part that is very Slash inspired while writing the song. And then imagine you had the money to get Slash to come and play that part, but it's still your song. We would happily do it. But sadly, it's not that easy. Excuse me. And so, yes, awareness about money and revenue is absolutely vital here today. You can't match commercial rates to indie band rates. You need to understand the ecosystem that you're performing in or the band that you're a part of and where you have climbed your ladder over the years, performing so much, touring so much, putting albums out. Takes a lot of money. Every album is 4-5 lakhs of mix and mastering and studio time and recording, and there are so many other assets that you take for yourself. Buying mics, buying sound cards, buying all these things. So it's a very, very expensive affair. And money plays a very, very vital role in all of this. So while I'm doing music that I love, I won't say I'm sad about it. It's still music. I get to play great music with, like, say, Sean Roldan has 2 acts. Sean Roldan and Friends, which is his indie music, and Sean Roldan Live, which is his film music. Naturally, the film music is going to get in 10,000 people to come and watch. So naturally, each of them paying 500 rupees, the same that we charge in our pub gigs. But you have 10,000 people over there. The revenue coming out of that is tenfolds, as opposed to you keeping the same ticketing price.
For 50 people.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't kind of compare both, but to survive in, doing music, you should be kind of open-minded to be able to play music, play commercial music as well. In India, I feel like that is where the revenue is. That has given me the freedom to start other bands that I've been talking about for 10 years. Me and Sumesh Narayanan started this band called SNAX, which is a drummer percussion duo, producing electronic music and playing with it. So that is something that we've been speaking about for a long time, but it took us that long because it took us that financial freedom to be able to say, you know what, I don't care if I lose money doing this. I love doing it. And I have that financial independence to be able to do this. And that is sadly not because if I'm playing in all these bands or indie bands and whatnot. It's because of the big gigs. It's about the commercial gigs. It's about the playback singer gigs, the music director gigs and whatnot. As long as those ecosystems that you're a part of are fun and accommodating, it's not tracks and stuff like that. It's more live and it's intricate music and you're playing it with the people you love and, kind of bond over the music itself. I think it's great. You're getting, the plus of everything in this. You're getting the money, you're getting the vibes, you're getting great music, experience, and you're going to play in arenas that you're never ever going to play in. Probably unless and until our ecosystem of listeners evolve. And, now I feel like that shift is slowly happening. I think we're still far away from where the West has been.
Yeah, I think there's a very lack of a nice small venue.
Yeah.
In India itself, it's less. In Chennai, there's nothing. Which is first a music venue and then a bar or something.
Yeah.
It's always the other way around.
Other way around, exactly. And we can't blame that ecosystem as well, because the minute these people who run a resto bar who want to have a band in, they just start comparing. They say, I'll pay your landed deal of say 40k and then above that, if your tickets generate revenue, I'll give you 80% of that and take 20%, and then there's F&B sales. So now on a normal night, say a bar is making say 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs out of F&B, and then on a band night, that same 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs they're making out of F&B, but they have to pay the band 1.5 lakhs. That has made their profits go down. So now you can't blame him for saying it's hard for me to have bands here, which is why music-oriented venues have to open up, where the music is the agenda and everything is kind of like just there around it for adding that other layer. So, yeah, that's where it is. I definitely think people should be open-minded to play commercial music where the money is, at least in India. Unless and until the point where you're played for so long with your indie bands that you're now generating comfortable revenue out of that itself, then well and good for you. That is the dream. That's what we all want to be at.
For everyone.
Yeah. So, and it's a great example. You see bands like Thermal and a Quarter, they've never played commercial music or any of that, but they had another idea. They opened a school, and that is now a streamline of revenue as well for them coming into the band, and which is pure genius, I think. So there are a lot of ways to go about this, but yes, you should be open-minded to venturing into something else.
I think Sanjeev also has cracked it with his
Exactly, with Rainbow Bridge. Kudos to these guys. Sanjeev is an absolute rock star. He doesn't have to do this, but he did it, and it keeps him comfortably in a place where he can do what he wants to do. You can start saying no to certain gigs that you don't want to do. Travel is exerting on your body. Different food every day. That's also a lot. Sleep. As you get older, your limbs start hurting. You need to chill out. You don't want to work as much as I don't work as much as I worked 10 years back now, and I'm sure it's only going to get lesser in the future. So for that, financial independence is essential, and you should think about how you're generating your revenue out of doing this.
Brilliant. So what is your opinion or relationship with substances, alcohol, drugs? I'm only talking in this thing of a performance, not what you do in your personal life.
I don't know. For me, I mean, I've enjoyed great music like Nirvana and whatnot, and Kurt had a very serious stomach issue, which is why he was into substances and whatnot for the pain. But he ended up doing other crazy stuff in the shows, that kind of connected with that brand of music, grunge, underground rock, and it's become a thing. I feel like it's become a brand of its own itself. You associate the music with the kind of substance and stuff like that. Rock and roll music, beers or whiskey as you get old, maybe. I think jazz is more with high-end drinks and champagne and whiskey.
That is no. Before when the legends used to be there, it used to be heroin.
Exactly.
So Parker died
exactly. Most of the artists that we loved listening to have died of all of these things. So I think at some point we should also kind of learn as to, man, we enjoy doing this. Why should we want to stop it because of a health issue that is caused by something that you want to be in, under a substance and whatnot? As opposed to alcohol, all these things, it's nice in proportions. Just do it for your recreational purpose. You want to have fun with your friends, that's it. I would say don't make it go beyond that line where it's affecting your performance itself, where you're not able to, your mind would say you want to play this, but your hands are not going to be able to play that. It's a problem now. At that point, I feel like you've crossed the line. So now you know where the line is. So kind of push it back a little bit. Have fun with it. You enjoy it. Do it. It's to each their own. I've seen totally sober artists sound bad, and fully stoned, drunk or drugged up people sound incredible. So there's no right or wrong about this. To each their own. And... But yes, you all our legends have died doing this, and most of the legends who are alive now have gone sober over the last few years. You take a Slash, you take Mike Portnoy, take all these guys who have been into substance and alcohol and all of that, all their lives touring. They've toured more than all we have. They played shows more than all we have. They've seen worlds that we haven't seen, and they've come out of it and, wanted to fix their lives and get it into, a more healthy spectrum to be able to do what they love doing, which is music at the end of it. When you're young, you're kind of like, gravitating towards all this fun stuff. But as you grow older, I feel like you kind of learn, you kind of prioritize the things you like. Some people may like the drugs more than the music and they may just move to that.
Yeah.
That is their problem to deal with. But there's no positive side to being a substance you abuser, like you overusing a substance is not going to do any good for you at any point. So kind of find your own line and be inside that, and you'll be happy. You'll be having your fair share of fun. You'll be able to execute what you want to do as well. So kind of find the balance is what I would say.
Okay. So we are moving into a very, very digital AI future. Where do you think that the role of human performance and live performance fits in the upcoming future?
AI, it's interesting. I like AI as a tool. Like my wife is a therapist, and she finishes her sessions, and then she talks to the system and chat GPT to, instead of typing out everything, she talks to it, and it writes out what she said, and then she proofreads it once and then edits stuff out, and then she files her report for herself saying this is what has happened today. So at that point it's a tool. It's not like AI is doing the session itself. Whereas with music, it has kind of gone to the other end where there's
At
a
least
band
in creating it has gone to...
Yeah. It has gone to the point where it's doing it by itself, but it's also, I watched a recent interview of this music composer from the Malayalam industry, also metal band, The Downtrodden, Sushin Shyam. He said there are these contracts that he has to sign where they say your music should be allowed for AI learning. It's a part of contracts for the last apparently 10 years. And he's had somebody who reads into all these things and made sure he didn't want that to happen. So he's not done it. But then I see, say, a young singer-songwriter who doesn't have the money to, get an artist to do an album art, generates an album art in that. You can do it for yourself. It's great. But now, if I was somebody who makes only album covers for a band, I have a problem with that as well. So on the creative side of things, I feel like it has taken over more than where it should have been. It's crossing the line of being a tool and being, more almost the artist itself. You saw a band that just came out recently.
There are multiple bands.
Oh, okay. I just heard that one band. I forgot the name of the band, but they sound...
they'll sound like this thing, but nobody like that exists.
Exactly. But again, it comes from learning. The thing is, it needs a human to learn what it wants to do, AI as such. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's still in my hand, and there's something human that just can't be taken out of it. There will be certain, maybe even imperfections if you want to call it, but there's something about it that just can't be machined. Like you can program drums on a system, but when you get a live drummer, there'll be something to it that system just can't do. Like a sequencer can't bring out that feel or a bounce. There could be a straight 4/4, but every drummer plays that 4/4 differently. And you can't quantize it, or you can't do anything to a sequence to beat to make it sound like that. You just can't. So I feel like how much ever this comes, it's just like that whole conversation where when OTT came, people were like, theaters are going to die. I'm seeing more and more screens only pop up. And the big movies, where people are giving you the theatrical experience and whatnot, people want to still go and watch it in the theater and whatnot. So the people who are into certain art forms will always be into it. Like how Super Bowl has evolved over time. It was just the sport back in the day, and there would be a small college band that would come and play in the middle, that one song that they knew or whatever. And then today, the halftime show is bigger than the Super Bowl itself. So for a sports fan, he or she will be like, I don't really care, man. I want to watch the game. I don't want to watch this commercial over here of Michael Jackson.
That's
or
how
whatever.
I feel about IPL.
Yeah, exactly.
Drama around it.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So it's you can use it as a tool to kind of help you do things, but you can't replace the human element, whatever you do, you know. It's a human aspect of human touch, human feel is something that's irreplaceable, I feel.
Beautiful. Almost at the end, can you encapsulate what does performance mean to you in?
Performance is energy. It gives me a lot of joy. It's expression for me. Most importantly, I get to express my feelings through my music through my art form to people. So I'm sure that's the same with every artist, but it's so nice to, kind of radiate that energy and feel people in front of you dancing, having fun, singing along, doing these things. That is your message going across to them. And that's why we do this, you can't even do it the second time. Like, that's how good it probably would be sometimes. So those magical moments, these are kind of things that kind of make me never ever want to, give up performing. I don't mind if it's 2 people I'm performing it through or 20,000 people. It's the same. As performing to someone is something, there's an aura and an energy about it which can never be matched.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Podcast episode.
Thank you so
All the
much
best
for having me.
for